Well, hello. Today I've chosen to take a little break from my pastoral addresses, and for the next few weeks, I've decided to do something a little different. And I've invited my friend TJ Griffin. Some of you know TJ. TJ is an elder here at First Presbyterian Church, and you've also served as a deacon.
Yeah.
And he was on our preaching team at Cherry Street for a long time.
Yes, it was.
And part of the leadership team there. TJ is a motivational speaker and a trainer, works with at-risk youth, developing skills in their life and mentoring them. He also has a TEDx talk that you were on, and travels around the country speaking with youth for various organizations, and an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
And so check him out on thevisionprogram.com, thevisionprogram.com, and you can see a little bit about what he's doing. I'm going to refrain from thanking him for coming and joining in this conversation today, because we're actually co-hosting this today. If I were to do that, I would just make me the host, but we're sort of co-hosting this, and as an elder and a pastor of our church, we're equal in our leadership roles there. So we talked about a title for this, and we're playing around with this idea. A couple weeks ago, when George Floyd was murdered, I reached out to TJ and several other of the black friends that I have, and that we texted each other back and forth for a little while, and it led to coming to this point where we're realizing, we want to talk about this together. There on the internet, there's a show right now called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, put on by Emmanuel Ache, and we're hoping that these are those kind of uncomfortable, sitting at the edge of your sofa kind of conversations that we can have. I'm currently reading a book right now called White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. There's a lot of really good books and texts that have gone out that a lot of white friends that I have are reading. In this book, it's helped me to identify the issue of racism in my own life, which was a challenge for me, because I don't like to think of myself as a racist. Like when I think of racist people, I think of people from the South, people that are old, mean-spirited, bigoted, uneducated.
Yeah. Even racists can be stereotyped.
Yeah, right. Right. And I like to think of myself as all the opposite of that stuff. And I think that part of the problem is, as a progressive white person, if I don't name that kind of thing for myself and don't talk about it, I can think that it's other people's problems rather than my problem. So this book has helped me come to the understanding that I'm a racist, that I'm not like a white nationalist or KKK. I haven't joined the KKK or anything, but for me, one of my greatest social fears as a white man is to be told that I have said something or done something that was racially problematic. And so I spend my entire life protecting myself from that, like trying to make sure the conversations never come up, or staying away from places where I'm not going to be uncomfortable like that.
Yeah.
And so, as far as helping me understand this, like there's prejudice, there's discrimination, there's racism. Prejudice, we're all prejudiced. If we don't think we're prejudiced, we're not self-aware.
Yeah.
Discrimination is when I act on that prejudice. Like if I go into a store owned by black people, they could ignore me, but racism goes deeper in that it is because I'm in the position of the people who are the oppressor people. For example, white women or women in America could never take away my rights as a man. They don't have the power to take away my civil rights as a man. Black people in America don't have the power to take away my civil liberties as a man. But because I'm a white man, and I'm in that position, I can continue to, even by ignoring the issue, continue to support and reinforce that issue
Well, silence
of racism.
in this climate right now, Dan, silence speaks volumes. Silence is just as bad. And I think that me personally just tired of silence, especially from white friends and family, because I'm half that's don't speak up at all or ever say anything, and that have a platform that people are actually listening to, and they're not speaking. It hurts us. It hurts me. And I'm not speaking for everybody, but it hurts me. So I appreciate this conversation, and it's supposed to be uncomfortable because there's no growth in our comfort zone. If every week Dan does a talk, and we're just sitting back at home, zooming in comfort, and it's just nice. Jesus' good words in the Bible. How much growth are you having? When he preaches, sometimes you should be uncomfortable. And that's why I'm really excited to be here and have these conversations, and honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think you've helped me too. It was easy for me to say what I just said to the congregation in front of you, because your response to my coming to grips with that. I contribute to racism. I'm racist. Not like the KKK.
Yes.
I just want to be clear. It was sympathy. I mean, you heard that and received it with sympathy and love.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to me. It, especially as a white man growing up, I was just always trained to be afraid of black people.
And that statement right there is so powerful.
Yeah.
That right there is so powerful, because I know there's people watching at home, and it's not your fault. Like I'm not blaming you or calling you a racist it's not even your fault. It's just you were born here, and your parents were born here. And part of this, our system in this great country, is that it was, as a child, I've been taught, all the great presidents and leaders were white men. All the explorers and visionaries were white men. All the inventors were white men. And unconsciously as a kid, I didn't realize that I was, starting to believe that we're not as good, not as smart. And it's so powerful to hear a white man say, this is what I was taught. That's where we influence change. So that's why I embraced you so well when you said it, because I'm like, wow, finally, it's so nice.
Well, it's just, we're beginners in this. So,
yes, we are.
But one of the things that I think as it relates to racism and white privilege that I've struggled with for my life. I come from, I'm the first person in my entire extended family to ever go to college. I have some really poor white people in my family, in my in-laws' family. My in-laws have been poor, very rural poor most of their life. Even now, they live in just very small places in Lancaster County, and it's hard for me to look at them and understand how white privilege is benefiting them.
Yeah.
I mean, because I look at them and I say, "Are you kidding me? Like, you can't tell me that being white is giving them an advantage." So, I mean, help me understand that.
That's such a powerful question, and I get that pretty active on social media because the work I do. So I see a lot of arguments and debates and contents, and I get that as well, and I work with a lot of urban kids and urban youth in the hoods across America, and I teach them, don't think that because you grew up poor and your surroundings are poor that it's just black and brown people that are poor. Because I traveled the country speaking, and I've been to the mountains of Washington, where families live under tents and tarps. The kids get up and go to school, for decades.
Yeah.
I've been to West Virginia, where the poverty is a whole different level than us in the inner city.
Yeah.
So poverty is widespread. But to your question is people ask that question. Well, I don't see white privilege because I struggled and I worked my butt off, and I come from a broken home, and I was on welfare too, and that's not the case, guys. White privilege is not a whether you're born wealthy or born poor, has nothing to do with having privilege.
Yeah.
Whether you struggled and you came up with your bootstraps, what white privilege is, Dan, is you may have struggled, you may have created opportunity for yourself, broke down barriers and doors, but the color of your skin did not make it harder to do so. So I'm gonna repeat that.
Yeah.
White privilege doesn't mean it was easy for you, that you didn't have to work your butt off and go hard to create your opportunities in life and your careers and build a family.
Yeah.
Like Dan said, he's the first one in a generation that went to college. You know? So you had to work hard and break down some barriers that were never broken down before.
Yeah.
White privilege is that the color of his skin didn't make it harder. When he applied for college and it said Daniel Snyder and it said Takesha Jones, that's white privilege. When the person sees, oh, we better go with Dan. The academics is the same. The grades are the same. The performance are the same. But what Dan Snyder's chosen over Takesha because of the name is black. That's white privilege. That's happening right now.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of places across the country. It's happening everywhere. It's probably happening in our church somehow.
Right. Yeah.
So if we're going to be real.
Yeah.
So this is uncomfortable, but this is where we grow.
Yeah, I'm
So white privilege, I will repeat, white privilege
Yeah.
is not that you didn't work hard or have a rough start. It's that this color of your skin did not make it harder to do so.
Right. And that's something that I can't change about myself, and you can't change about yourself.
Yes.
You know, we've had talks back and forth about. You asked me once, like, you know, did you ever walk past a car or whatever in the locksmith?
Yeah.
And I've said, well, no, but like I've been in the car
Where we locked it.
where like I was told, Dan, lock your doors. You know, like we're in the, you know, when I was a little kid,
Yeah.
I was taught, and there's probably other things like that we are on the opposite ends of
side.
that, and we couldn't do anything about that. Like, there's whatever you did, you know, your black skin will make that happen.
Yeah. Right here in
all the time.
right here in Lancaster City. So many times, especially as a youth and a teenager walking around. We used to go to Woolworths and play video games. We do all the we hang out at the Loop on the corner to see the high school kids from other towns and try to talk to the girls. But all the time, at the light, doors were locked if we're walking by. It'd be me and my buddy. We got so used to it was normal. Never thought about it. You know, another thing right here in Lancaster City. I grew up in this town. If any viewers and audience members and members of this church have grew up in Lancaster City or the county, ask yourself how many times a gun has been pulled on you by law enforcement. Don't get this wrong. I'm a supporter of law enforcement. How many times?
We're going to have.
How many times has a gun been pulled on you?
Never.
Okay. How many times have you been stopped and threw against the wall and all your pockets pulled out, your shoes off, and then they let you go?
Never.
Well, that's happened to me and hundreds of my friends, dozens and dozens, 50 times as a child in Lancaster City. They were called the Yellow Shirts. I can name the officers and all that. We never knew that our rights were being violated. We were used to it. That's another conversation, but that's just a little bit of what the difference is.
Yeah.
The difference is, I mean, it's not your fault.
Right.
It's not my fault.
No, right. It's like, and that's things we can't change about ourselves.
But you know how we can change? By having these difficult conversations.
Having these
and
conversations.
talking about it. And admitting, I do not know. I do not know what to do or how to do this, but I want to help. And I can see that I have privilege. That alone does so much for me personally that I want to have the conversation with you. Because I got to be honest, I'm tired of telling my white friends why they're rioting. I'm against rioting. 100% against it. I'm tired of talking about what Black Lives Matters is.
Yeah.
And the media made it into it really just started saying, hey, don't kill us. And people will actually protest me saying, stop killing us. But they'll say, but when I say Black Lives Matters, because it's right now black people are being killed, and I got friends, family, TJ, all lives matters. Basically what I'm saying is, guys, please stop killing us. And a lot of you all, I don't know, are saying, yeah, but.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And these conversations are going to help us all grow and understand each other.
Look, I think we need to have a whole episode on that. I think we need to have a whole episode on what you started talking about with the police, you know, Black Lives Matter, riots. And so those are some of the things we're going to bring up in the next 5 weeks. I think those are the things I want to talk about. I want to ask questions about. I want you to hear you talk about. I want you to ask me questions about them. Because we're going to keep doing these conversations. So this is an uncomfortable conversation. It's either a uncomfortable conversation with a white racist or with a black man. Like whatever you need, you can decide. But today it's uncomfortable conversations with, and that's what we're calling it. And we may rename it, but we're just going to keep this conversation going. So
I appreciate it.
We're committed to you.
Please keep coming back and send questions or in the posts or the comments, and we would love to continue to build and have these talks.
Send in your questions. So, all right, we'll see you on Sunday.